Right now, you have two versions of yourself. The one sitting here watching this, and the one that exists on a screen somewhere that thousands of people have already seen. You have always assumed those two versions are the same person, that the online one is a costume you wear for the internet and take off when you close the app. That assumption is wrong. Here is what a study found before anything else. Women who wore a specific digital avatar for just 30 minutes changed how they thought about their own bodies when they left the lab. 30 minutes? Not 30 days. 30 minutes inside a digital body they did not even choose. If 30 minutes can do that, what has the last 5 years of your online identity been doing to you every single day? In 2007, at a laboratory in Stanford University, California, a researcher named Nick Yee ran an experiment that should have changed everything about how we understand who we are becoming online. It did not, because almost nobody outside of academic psychology has ever heard of what he found. And what he found is one of the most disturbing things ever documented about the human brain. He called it the Proteus Effect, named after the Greek god Proteus, who could shift between any form at will. But unlike Proteus, the people in Yee's experiments did not know they were shifting. They thought they were just playing a game. Here is exactly what happened. Yee and his colleague Jeremy Bailenson brought participants into a virtual reality lab at Stanford, California. They assigned each participant a digital avatar. Some participants were given tall avatars, others were given short avatars. Then they put the participants in a negotiation task. Real money on the table, real stakes. The participants with taller avatars negotiated significantly more aggressively than the participants with shorter avatars. Stop and think about what that means. These people knew the avatar was not them. They had seen it for maybe 15 minutes. And yet the height of a digital figure had measurably altered their negotiating behavior. Not slightly, measurably, with real money on the table. But here is the part that should genuinely stop you cold. After the session ended, the participants left the lab and sat down for a face-to-face negotiation with a real human being. No avatar, no screen between them. The participants who had been given tall avatars negotiated more aggressively in the real-world interaction too. The behavior did not stay inside the game. It walked out of the lab with them. They did not decide to be more aggressive. They simply spent 15 minutes inside a tall digital body, and that was enough. Yee ran a second study changing attractiveness instead of height. Participants given more attractive avatars stood physically closer to others. They shared more personal information. They trusted others more quickly. They behaved like people who believed they were attractive. And then they left the lab, and they kept doing it. 46 experiments, thousands of participants, different research groups across a decade of replications. The 2019 meta-analysis confirmed it every time. Your avatar is changing you. Therefore, here is the mechanism. Your brain does not have a clean separation between what you observe and what you do. When you watch yourself, even a digital version of yourself, your self-perception updates. Psychologists call this self-perception theory. When your avatar behaves confidently, your brain updates its model of who you are, not because you decided to change, because you watch someone who looks like you behave that way. The brain cannot fully distinguish between a memory of doing something and an observation of someone else doing it. When that someone else is a version of you, the lines collapse almost entirely. Now here is the part nobody is talking about. It is not just gaming avatars. It is not just VR laboratories. It is not just virtual reality headsets in university buildings in California. It is your Instagram profile. It is your TikTok persona. It is the version of you that you have been curating for years on a phone screen while telling yourself it is just how you present online. 3 billion people on Instagram. Over 1 billion on TikTok. Over 200 million on Snapchat in the United States alone. Every single one has constructed a digital version of themselves that is at least partially different from who they are when they close the app. The filter you always use. The angle you never photograph yourself from. The persona that gets a little braver, a little funnier, a little more certain than the one you show at work or at dinner. You built that persona deliberately. But it is rebuilding you without your permission. A 2023 study found that Instagram users who viewed their own idealized profiles reported measurable changes in their Big Five personality traits. Do it enough times and the short-term shift becomes a long-term drift. Fortnite has over 350 million registered players in the United States. The average American teenager spends 7 hours per week inside that game. Players consistently report their in-game persona is more confident, more decisive, more aggressive than their real-world self. They call it play, but here is what the research calls it. In 2013, participants in VR, given the ability to fly like Superman to help a child, were measurably more helpful to others afterward than those who rode as a passenger on the same mission. The behaviors practiced inside the game are being practiced as neurological patterns. The brain does not know the enemy was an avatar. It knows you held your ground. You did not just play as a hero, you became one. Enough of those afternoons and you might become one permanently. But this works in both directions. Remember those women from the beginning. 30 minutes inside an avatar they did not choose, and it changed how they thought about themselves when they left. Now consider what social media has been placing American teenage girls inside for the last 15 years. Not 30 minutes, 3 to 5 hours every single day. Every edited face, every body that only exists after a filter has finished with it. The Surgeon General of the United States published a warning about this in 2023. The avatar changes the person. When the avatar is an impossible standard, the person becomes someone who will spend every day trying to reach something that was never real. Here is the evolution no one explains. First, there was the campfire. Humans gathered in the dark and performed for each other. They told stories. They built identity through the group watching them. Then there was the stage, then the television, then the phone. But the phone made the performance personal. It made you the one performing, and it gave the audience a button to press every time they liked what they saw. And that button taught your brain something it cannot unlearn. Perform the right version of yourself and the world responds. Therefore, here is what all of this means for you. The digital version of yourself is not a costume. It is a rehearsal. Every time you perform a version of yourself online, your brain files that performance under who you are, not who you want to be. Who you are. The avatar you build is not just describing you, it is training you. Choose the right one and you are training someone extraordinary. Choose the wrong one and you are training someone you will eventually have to live as. But only if you choose it deliberately. Right now, most of us did not choose our online persona. It chose us through the accumulation of posts and likes and reactions and algorithms that rewarded certain behaviors and punished others. We built a character without realizing we were writing ourselves a script we would eventually have to live, and the algorithm kept giving us more of whoever we were performing. Not because it knew us, because it knew what kept us clicking, and clicking rewarded a performance, and the performance became a habit, and the habit became a self. Tonight, when you open the app, before you post, before you scroll, before you let the algorithm decide who you are becoming, ask one question. Is the person I am performing the person I am choosing to be? Proteus was a god who could become anything. The ancient Greeks believed his power was also his curse. Because when you can become anything, the question of who you actually are becomes the hardest question in the world to answer. You have that power right now. Every time you open the app, you are choosing a form. That choice is not cosmetic. It is not temporary. It is not something you leave behind when you put the phone down. It is you, under construction, every single time. The only real question is whether you are the one holding the blueprint.